Why do we self-sabotage? Well, let me tell you about Maria. Maria is 48 years old. She lives in a small city in an apartment with plants on every windowsill and the faint smell of espresso always drifting through the air. She's got a job. She's got grown kids. On paper, she's doing fine. But every night when the lights go out, Maria lies awake, thinking, I'm too old for this. Too old for what exactly? That's the thing. For Maria, it's everything. She's too old to go back to school, too old to learn English properly, too old to change careers, too old to fall in love again after her divorce. And every day, those words, I'm too old for that, carve a tiny piece out of her dreams. But here's the truth. Maria is lying to herself. And if we're being honest, a lot of us are. I'm too old to change careers. I'm too old to fall in love again. Oh, I'd love to learn salsa dancing, but I'm too old. Dude, shut up. You're 36. Everyone's out here saying they're too old for something. People in their 30s thinking they've missed their chance in life. People in their 70s thinking they are too old to matter or have nothing left to contribute. And then you've got Eddie. He's 39. He grew up loving music. In his 20s, he played guitar in a local rock band. He dreamed about recording an album, not to become famous, but just to say he did it, to leave something behind. But then life got in the way. Bills, family responsibilities, a job he never really liked. And now, Eddie sits on his couch at night, scrolling through social media, watching younger musicians post their songs, thinking, it's too late for me. He tells himself he's too old, that no one wants to hear a middle-aged man's songs, that the world has moved on, so he never picks up his guitar. So why do people do this? It's called self-sabotage. Basically, your brain's like, I could chase my dreams and be happy, or I could just stay exactly where I am and complain about being old. And guess what? Your brain picks the safe, boring option most of the time. You want to start a business? Too old for that. You want to date someone new? Too old for that. No, you're not. You're just scared. This idea of being too old doesn't actually come from your age. It comes from the stories we've absorbed about our lives. That success has an expiration date, that learning belongs to the young, that dreams should be traded for practicality once you hit a certain birthday. But here's the truth. Your brain is capable of learning new things even into your 80s and 90s. Your creativity doesn't magically disappear at 40. Your capacity for love, growth, and reinvention doesn't vanish because you blew out more candles on a cake. It's all about this killer story you keep telling yourself. That's the real problem. Because the more you believe it, the smaller your life becomes. This whole too old for story makes people isolate themselves. They stop trying new stuff. They stop meeting new people. Next thing you know, you're yelling at kids for standing on your lawn and reminiscing about the good old days. Let's go back to Maria for a second. One day, Maria saw an ad online for an English class at the local community center. At first, that voice in her head screamed, "What's the point? You're too old. You'll look ridiculous sitting there with teenagers. People will judge you." But for some reason that day, she clicked enroll. On the first day of class, Maria's hands were shaking. She was convinced she'd make a fool of herself. But there was no ridicule. No one laughed. In fact, the room was filled with other adults, some younger, some older, all there because they were tired of feeling stuck. 3 months later, Maria gave a tiny speech in English in front of her class. Her grammar wasn't perfect, but when she finished, the room applauded. And for the first time in years, Maria thought, maybe I'm not too old for this. And she wasn't. The too old for this or that narrative thrives in silence. The more we keep it hidden, the stronger it grows. But there's a way to fight back, and that is when people talk about it, when they share their fears or challenge the idea that age defines them. that narrative starts to fall apart. In other words, counter-punch. Basically, tell yourself new stories like, age doesn't define me. I can reinvent myself at any time. It's never too late for me to become a viral star. It's never too late to start again. My worth isn't tied to my age. And remember Eddie? Last month, he opened his guitar case again. He didn't record an album, not yet, but he posted a short video on the gram. Just one song. And someone left a comment that said, "I wish my dad would play music like this." Eddie smiled. He realized it wasn't too late. It never was. So if you've ever caught yourself thinking, "I'm too old to switch careers. I'm too old to fall in love. I'm too old to learn something new," I'm here to tell you that voice is lying to you, because your story isn't over. You're not too old.